Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Passion Project podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Gede Witsen. He is the COO of 25100, which, if you don't know, is a youth organization tackling the world's largest challenges such as climate change and poverty, and in the process, encouraging sustainable living and carbon footprint reduction. Other than that, he is the creative coordinator of Mepantigan Bali Mud Games. I hope you enjoy this episode. It's packed with a lot of knowledge, a lot of actionable tools. We talk about culture, we talk about martial arts, we talk about Bali Mud Games, we talk about the world's largest challenges, climate change. So there's a lot of topics in this very light-hearted conversation. And like I said, I hope you enjoy it. Welcome, everybody. My name is Yuvraj, and I'm the co-host of the Passion Project podcast.
My name is Neil, and I'm the other co-host of the Passion Project podcast.
Welcome to this episode, and we have a very special guest with us today.
So just to start off, I feel like, could you just give us a rundown of what 25100 really is?
Sure. So 25100, we are a social impact company. We like to say that we want to tackle the 10 largest issues the world is facing. What we mean by 10 largest issues is these topics are touching like health, like climate change, democracy, agriculture, and all these things. And it's basically we want to encourage entrepreneurship in creating solutions. So that's what 25100 is. We invest. We have a Klima fund. We are building that, a 2.5 million euro fund, in order to support young entrepreneurs to scale up their businesses. And we also incubate them in our venture studio, making sure that they are market ready and de-risking our investments. And then we are also a consultancy. So we are able to advise businesses, governments for youth engagement, because we're a young company, we're an intergenerational team, and also sustainable development consultant. So yeah, that's a bit about 25100.
That's cool. That's a quick summary. So I had a look at the website, and I saw that you tackle the world's 10 largest challenges. So just can you run through in a brief, like what are the world's 10 largest challenges?
Okay, yeah, the world's to us it's like our own SDGs, you could say, right? So what we follow in order to tackle them. So we have agriculture, we have health, we have climate change, we have food sector, food distribution, right? But these are problems that we want to tackle through responsible businesses. Right?
So what you would say is that, like, if I, for example, have a company where I use sustainable materials, for example, this is I could come to you and you would help me scale up in order to make a bigger change.
Yes,
so
exactly.
To kind of amplify the effects of what I want to do.
Yes, exactly that. And also making it profitable. Because I think we live in a world where of course it's run by finance, by money, and we cannot forget that when people think of social impact, people think charity, right? Yeah. And I think there should be a shift in the world in this, because without finance, without the importance of capital, things don't move, right? Things don't progress. Things are not sustainable also because of this, right? So that's why we are trying to build responsible businesses towards what we call an impact economy, meaning an economy where it creates impact, not only profit, right?
I mean, this is a lot more realistic, right? Because I mean, I always think of NGOs when I think of all this stuff, NGOs and charities and stuff like that, and you're taking a more realistic approach where you're saying, okay, you want to make money with this type of idea, but I'm also making change, and we want to support you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, obviously, one of the largest challenges that you're tackling is obviously climate change, right? Because it's very real, it's happening. People are experiencing the changes. But also, on the other hand, people are not really they're not really feeling the repercussions of climate change. There's still debate going on whether it's real or not, which is crazy, which is overwhelming, because there's a lot of scientific evidence, there's a lot of studies, there's, natural disasters, and a lot of scientific evidence for climate change. So I want to ask you, like, for the people that live in these very developed worlds, that live in this very modern world, they're not seeing the repercussions, they're not feeling the consequences. how would you convince or persuade them to do something? Because essentially there's no incentive, right, for them to do anything. So what?
Yeah. Well, I think it's becoming real slowly but surely. I mean, in the past few decades, we've been talking about climate change and the threat that it creates for developing nations. Developing nation has experienced this for a while, right? But just this year, actually, developing nations are, I think, slowly getting this. The hurricanes that were unexperienced ever before, the wildfires in Canada, right, and the high temperature sounding, right, the flooding in Germany recently, the wildfires in Greece. I mean, those things are coming to us slowly but surely. So I think when it comes to convincing, it's up to the majority of people to see what's actually happening. That's one. But two, also, I think we're not saving the planet here. Right? I think we're saving ourselves because the planet will be here whether we are here or not. Right? The planet has always been around for many years. It has gone through the ice age and all these things, but can we survive it? That's a whole different story. That's why we need to change our ways from the conventional economy that we know into a more greener economy, a more impactful economy, and this is what 2500 is trying to do.
Do you? Sorry to interrupt.
No,
do you think we're at a tipping point? Because some scientists claim that we're at a point of no return. So like anything we change, anything we do will have very little impact to what is actually going to come in the future. So we've already done all the damage because of all our pollutants and all like carbon dioxide and everything. We've already done a lot of damage. Do you think there is a possibility of becoming better or of a return?
Oof. I mean, that's pretty scary when you hear that.
Yeah.
But I think there is still a possibility. Of course, I think we're too late to. I mean, scientists have said this also. It's too late to avoid 1.5 degrees Celsius. But if we do nothing, it's gonna be worse, right? That's what scientists are saying, and I think there's enough reports saying that, right? But honestly, the opportunities for the green economy, for sustainable development, is growing. Like I think the loss of not doing anything is greater than doing something, right? I think many people know that if we start a transition, perhaps in the short term we have some downfalls. Perhaps electricity bills are much higher, let's say, because we're transitioning to renewable energy. But in the long run, the operating costs of renewable energies are actually cheaper, right? So there are those benefits in the long run, but of course in the short run, it's a little different. And I think there is this mindset that needs to little change, right? It's kind of like a wartime mindset, you could say, right? But in war, you can see the consequences, but in climate change, you don't really see. So it's a little hard to do that.
Exactly. That's why I would just ask you, like, is there something that we oversee? Obviously, we live in Madrid. The effect of climate change. Obviously, we have natural disasters, but like, what do we oversee in our day-to-day lives? Just walking about or something. Is there anything we see where that can be attributable to climate change? Just so to get some perspectives for the listeners, to see, is there something?
Well, it's a little hard when you're in Madrid, right? Because
Exactly.
sunny weather, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to complain also when the winter is hotter than usual.
Yes.
That's nice. A pretty sunny winter, it hasn't rained for the past 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But that's also Madrid is usually a bit like this. But I mean, when you talk about Madrid, I don't think you see it a lot, on your street or something like this. But I think the trend is that it's coming slowly but surely, right? I mean, this year, as I said before, it's coming. It's already way to Germany. There's massive floods. It doesn't really happen before. Switzerland also. But so if we're not careful, Madrid will, I think, get some of that.
How do you and how should we motivate people to care about this? Because right now, I have some friends that are activists and stuff like that in this field, but most of the people I know don't really think about climate change, don't really think about the effects and all this stuff. They think, I'll be there by then anyway, or whatever. You know, how can we make people care?
Yeah. Well, first, education, right? Educating yourself. I think that's a given.
Yeah.
But two, there's also an opportunity, a business opportunity, in order to solve the climate crisis or going towards sustainable development. I think there's a business opportunity there. I mean, investments are rising towards climate action, slowly and surely, and investments are needed for climate action, right? So there's an opportunity there for a career, you could say. I mean, we always like to say, I mean, in IE, our professors a lot say that the world is changing so fast right now, and it's so rapidly changing that we need to adapt, right? Sustainable development is one of the things that will change from the conventional, right? That's one. And then two, it's our next generations, right? How do we convince, for example, the older generations to act, let's say? But we're still living here, like us, we're still around on Earth the next, let's say, 50 years, 60 years, right? And people are living longer and longer. So if the effect of climate change and all these things will be affect, so as scientists say, will come in 20 years, I think it's in our interest to act, to avoid that, right, or to transition. So I think stuff like this, the communication of opportunity, the communication of urgency should be there.
The dangers are closer to us than we think.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what people need to hear.
Exactly. Urgency and I think opportunity.
So now it's come to a point where we're not saving the planet, but we're also saving ourselves in the process.
Exactly.
And when it becomes personal, that's when people start.
Exactly. I feel like that's one thing that's we're still missing. That's too not tangible enough. How personal it is.
Yes.
Obviously, if you live in a place where with lots of wildfires, like Australia, for example, then you'll feel a lot more. You know,
yes, exactly.
and you'll be a lot more present in your life.
Yeah.
Just to that, like. This might just a bit of a tangent on this. Do you think the metaverse, for example, do you think this will halt battling climate change? Because if we live in a world where there is no climate change, there's no real climate. Do you think things like that and just going more into this type of world, do you think it's gonna be bad for climate change, like all the activism and the movement?
Whoa, that's a tough question. Yeah, I think technology can be used in a good way and in a bad way.
Yeah.
Depends how you use it, right? The metaverse has lots of potentials for good. The metaverse also has lots of bad potentials for bad.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we need to use it in the right way.
Yeah.
And actually, one of our mandates at 25100 is we're creating an innovation center in Dubai for future energies, right? And that innovation center will incorporate not only metaverse, but also will incorporate blockchain technology, of course, sustainable buildings. But the metaverse that we're trying to use is to use it for education, like how the wind can create energy, how water can create energy, and stuff like this. So the metaverse has potential, but I am a little bit skeptic that the metaverse will be used for other things that are not very good for humanity.
Yeah, because I mean, you're focusing on the world in the computer. You're not focusing on the world around us. You know, I feel like it might be a distraction in some way.
Some way it is.
It's artificial after all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're slowly losing that human connection sometimes.
That
right?
is true, man.
Yeah, right? I mean, you can get even a girlfriend by a swipe. But So I think a balance. Balance between that is very important.
Yeah. I also heard that you start on your Instagram story NFTs for 25100, right?
Yeah, the NFTs is for the innovation center in Dubai.
Okay. So that's like you buy an NFT and then you gain access to this innovation center.
Yes, you become part of the community.
Yeah.
You become part of it. When you buy an NFT, the NFT is in the form of hexagons, and in our roofs of the innovation center will be little hexagons stuck around.
That's cool,
right? So
is it like an access pass? Like if you buy the NFT, you have like access to.
If you buy the NFT, you basically get you're part of the building, right?
Yeah.
And this NFT also adds value over time as the project it advances. Right?
That's cool.
That's one of the ways we are fundraising the project, and we're trying to put blockchain, tokenization, NFT, and crypto into a more, what is it called? Into something that has a purpose, right?
Right.
Because right now, crypto is about hype. Right?
Yeah.
Once you see, it's about supply and demand, right? So when there is hype, goes up.
Yeah.
Then there is a certain time where that trend or that hype stops, and then the next day it crashes.
Everybody
right?
starts selling.
Everybody is selling, right? That's supply and demand. But what we're trying to do is to put something tangible, something of value and purpose, and that is the innovation center.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to tackle this with blockchain and NFTs.
So the innovation center is like a virtual center.
It's virtual and a park.
So the
It's a
tiles.
physical place.
Physical.
So the tiles are real physical tiles.
Real physical tiles.
Wow.
Yeah, they're real
So,
physical tiles.
so guys, if you wanna have your own tile, we'll link it in the description for sure.
Yeah, welcome.
Cool.
Maybe Google that one, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
The passion project tile.
Big time. Yes,
That's cool. That's cool.
Wait, so I also heard about your Mazi campus, and correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
That's right.
That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Mazi campus, which is in Greece.
The Mazi is a vision
Okay.
of an innovation center that we want to create in Greece.
Okay. So
Yes.
you haven't created it yet.
Haven't created
but it's a vision.
It's a vision.
So you wanna. What I read on the website is that you wanna integrate ancient technology, like ancient Greek sustainable living practices, with modern technology.
Yes.
Right? So what are you basically planning to do?
So
What is the concept?
Mazima's concept is innovation center where intergenerational collaboration happens, right?
Good word.
So Greece has been known for starting everything, democracy, Olympics, all these things, right?
Has a great history.
It has great history in terms of this, so that's why we want to create this in Greece, an innovation center, educational center for innovation for the impact economy. I'm from Bali, and Bali we also have this a lot of these philosophies of the past that is highly relevant today, and people tend to forget this. And I think that's where I come from, and having learned that, and I'm fortunate to be in such an international community also.
Yeah.
That balance that really made me passionate about doing something like this.
Bali is a truly beautiful place. I've seen so many pictures of it. It's so beautiful. And while we're on the topic, I think we have to get into the Bali Mud Games.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna definitely put some pictures up on the screen. I mean, it's crazy. It looks like Could you just give us a rundown? Well, so I feel like it's something that if you do go to Bali, it'd be an interesting thing to go see.
For sure. I mean, Mepantigan Bali started from a vision of my father's, and then it turned into a family business that I was really active in. But Mepantigan Bali started as a martial art actually. My father wanted to create a Balinese martial art that is authentic to Bali. So with wrestling, with culture and dance, with the surrounding nature.
What's the name of the martial art?
Mepantigan.
Oh, okay.
Mepantigan. Yes. The name of the martial art is Mepantigan.
Does that have meaning?
Yeah, it comes from the word pantik. Pantik means to throw. Mepantigan is throwing each other, basically. Yeah.
Straightforward.
Exactly. And it started off from the beach, because Bali has beautiful beaches. Why not start Mepantigan at the beach? And then suddenly, one day, we discovered that mud is actually a pretty cool place. And mud not only is a staple food for to grow rice, right? Rice is a staple food, so it has lots of philosophy behind it, right? Bringing back to our childhood where we used to play mud a lot, we used to be farmers, right? So yeah, and then this turned into a whole recreational thing where people can learn how Balinese culture and Balinese traditions and Balinese arts through having fun in the mud. That's why it's mud games, right? So yeah, I mean, we've had Kim Kardashian to our place. The Kardashians, we've had we have many famous people coming to us, and we work together with lots of schools, international schools from Dubai, from Singapore, from Jakarta, and all these most in Asia, and they come to learn Balinese culture and also experience Balinese nature. That's what we do.
Wow. And in the actual mud games, like, is there like a schedule? Is there like something like set rituals or something or activities?
Yeah, usually it's a very physical activity. Very it's like PE. But, first, you warm up on the nature, on the dry land, let's say, and then we do some punches. Then we do some kecak, which is a Balinese like a yelling tradition.
Yeah.
You yell cha 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 and all these things, right? And then you play some Balinese traditional games, and then you go into the mud where we teach you little mud wrestling, different mud games, maybe petting a duck, connecting to our pets. We have ducks.
Because guys, I saw on Instagram, I also put a picture of this. Ducks. There was a couple. They were hugging each other and they had ducks on their heads.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, and these ducks live in mud.
Yes. That's crazy. And then sometimes there's some group massages in the mud. Because mud's very good for your skin. And then after that, we will swim in the river to rinse off our mud. And then your skin gets very nice. You get to learn some Balinese culture and arts, and you get to have fun, get dirty in the mud.
That's cool. That's a super cool concept. I mean, guys, if you want to go wherever Kim Kardashian also went,
Mepantigan.
Right. Yeah,
remember the name.
Exactly. We'll also leave a link in the description for that. I'm sure we've got lots of travelers listening right now.
For sure.
You know, when you were really cool. When you were explaining the stuff about like the martial art and stuff, and that your premises is in mud.
Yeah.
It reminds me of so there's this Indian martial art. It's called Kalari. I don't know if you've heard of it. You know about it?
Yes, I know about it. Yeah.
Alright, so Kalari is like the world's oldest martial art, and also their setup is like super. I mean, everything is made out of mud.
Yeah.
So like there are layers and layers of mud, and then they like toughen it up.
Yeah.
And then over there you do like fight with weapons.
Yeah.
You learn like you have like stances and stuff and exercises and like sequences. So everything is done on mud.
Yeah.
And you go there like barefoot.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really reminds me that like the culture of martial art and everything started from like integrating with nature. Everything starts from nature.
Yes.
And like right now it's become so commercial. Like you hit the gym, you go and you learn like boxing and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a big contrast.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, nature, I think, human beings, when we are in nature, we are much stronger. We often get this power from nature somehow, right? Like, our ancestors often just walk barefoot.
Walking barefoot is so good.
It's very healthy for you.
For the pressure points and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Somehow there is an ecosystem that exists in nature that we are also part of.
Yeah.
And when we break that ecosystem, often things turn into trouble, right? And that's why we need to build better, develop more sustainably, more taking into consideration because everything is interconnected.
100%. Also, like in terms of training with nature and stuff, the old boxers like Muhammad Ali, for example, before his fights, like 2 or 3 months before his fights, he used to go to like the mountains. He used to train in the woods.
Yeah.
He used to run up the mountain. He used to have like tree logs and stuff and like use them as training equipment.
Yeah.
Which probably like puts you into that instinctive mentality right before the fight and stuff, which is really, really interesting.
Exactly.
I mean, this makes it ever more important to protect it, obviously, to protect exactly that nature. And I think maybe a way for us to care more about nature for people that aren't really surrounded by that much is trying to connect with it, Because if you've got, I'm sure you're going to have, and many people that practice this martial art and all these different things, they will have a far more care and far more and a stronger relationship with nature, making them want to protect their nature. I feel like I'm pretty disconnected from what nature is. I mean, if you look around, nature, I don't know how much of that is still has the essence of nature. It comes to the point that where like companies creating green spaces and stuff like that, where it becomes like a gimmick almost to have green spaces. Well, what's one thing that people can incorporate in their lives, in their day-to-day, to support sustainability? That's not like a paper straw, because paper straw isn't really going to do that much.
Right. Going back to that, always be conscious in what you're using. If you don't need to use plastic, don't use plastic. If you can buy, let's say, vegetables that has no plastic in it, then don't buy the one with plastic. Stuff like this, or I don't know, if you don't need to travel, let's say, don't travel. Let's say that, okay. But traveling is also good for your experience, right? I'm traveling here, right? I'm getting the experience. Stuff like this, I think, it's being conscious about it and think how your impact will create.
It's about the small habits, the small choices that you make, and then each of them to stack up,
Exactly.
you have a big change to be made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you were wondering why we have different clothes on,
We just changed, quick.
yeah. You know, things happen where we're still in the starting stages of all this, so you know, stuff happens sometimes. So yeah, we can jump straight back into it. So I feel like you mentioned Kim Kardashian once, and I feel like the people at home we also very much want to know a little bit more about that whole situation. How did all that come about?
Did you meet her?
The thing, I didn't meet her.
You didn't meet her?
But I was the one, negotiating the deal, let's say. Yeah, because, and it was all very secret. The travel agents were like, please, don't share this with anyone. Please don't, basically don't publicize it. That there's going to be an important person coming into Mepantigan.
Yeah.
And they said that yeah, just keep it secret.
Did she use fake names? Like a lot of celebrities, they go into like fake names just to like avoid the.
They said
attention.
they said there will be someone called Kim, very famous, that will come to Mepantigan. And my father, the funny story was my father, he doesn't know pop culture as much, right? So when he heard Kim, and very important person landing on a helicopter on top of a rice field, that was the plan. And he thought it would be like Kim Jong-un or something. So everyone was preparing like, oh my god, if one person's coming, maybe it's Kim Jong, you never know, right? And because like 2 days before they arrived, all the police, all the secret service, or all their bodyguards, checking the place and stuff like that. And then who came out of the car? Just a bunch of like famous girls.
So it was like her entire family. It was the kids. It was
It
her
was the sisters. I think Courtney, Kim, and the kids. Yeah.
And you weren't there at that time.
I was in Madrid actually. I was still in Madrid at that time. Yeah.
Were they like nice? Like were they respectful enough and everything towards the culture?
Yeah, they were very, very respectful.
Yeah.
They were very enthusiastic with what they do.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, they actually donated to our foundation also.
Oh,
a good amount of money. And that was yeah.
It's cool, man. Yeah. It's good. Nice.
And any other celebrities?
Lots of Indonesian celebrities, of course. Indonesian celebrities. Yeah. I think, but a lot of international TVs like the BBC, Discovery Channel, and all these things, and National Geographic.
They probably made documentaries and stuff about it, right?
Yes.
Mepantigan.
Yes.
So basically, like when, like let's say, like we go to Mepantigan, what is the first thing we do? Like the rituals and stuff.
Yeah.
So we go to like the mud place or whatever you said it is, and then what do you do?
Well, before the mud, we usually have some type of ritual we call it like in the dry land.
Yeah.
It's basically a garden of coconut trees.
Okay.
Next to the rivers, very nice river sounds. We teach different type of martial arts. We warm up before we go to the mud. We teach them how to throw maybe a little, and then we play some Balinese games to warm up. And then when they go into the mud, they practice all the things we've learned in the dry area. So throwing, wrestling, bit of dancing, and screaming. Yeah, it's fun.
Balinese games. Can you like what type of games do you play? You know?
But it's mostly Balinese games that have been played for many generations.
Yeah.
But with globalization and with modern society, sometimes ancient or old games that maybe my grandfather used to play, I never played with again.
Right.
People have gadgets, I guess nowadays, and kids are forgetting about their roots often.
Yeah.
So then what we do is we bring that back up, right? And then they realize, oh, this is so much fun. And then
That's important. It's important to keep that link to the roots.
Exactly.
It's important.
Yeah, that's why we say that Mepantigan is more than just fun and in the mud, but you're really one, you're connected to nature. Two, you're learning culture and arts.
Yeah.
So when you go to Bali, of course you can enjoy some of the resorts, of course nice beaches, which is also nature, some of the really cool things in Bali, surfing and all these things. But I think what's worth trying is also the arts and culture. And Mepantigan, we do this very well.
Yeah, 100%. Reconnecting to the ancient times.
Yes.
Is very, very important because I remember as a child, we used to play a lot of street games, and right now, when I look back, when I look right now to like the people, they don't play any street games at all. There are very few people that remember like the old games and stuff. Like I remember there was like one game where you had to like, I can do it over here if you want. You had to like go on one leg, and you had to jump around on one leg and like try to catch someone, like tag someone, and then whoever gets caught, they have to do it. They have to do the same to like other people, and then so that game was insane. It was actually called. It was called Lumley Catch, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah, it was an insane game. We used to play it at school. We used to play it on the street, in the complex and stuff.
It's actually interesting because I feel like our generation. Well, I can't say generation, but you and I we're 20, and like I feel like 2004 onwards, I feel like I obviously don't know what they do, but like, I feel like they didn't have like I always sound like a boomer, you know? But like we were out there. They really. I would still listen to cassettes when I was like 5 or 4 or something like that. And just like being outside a lot, like being outside, being in the trees, climbing on roofs and stuff like that. It's that stuff that comes naturally to us.
We have a similar game, but like when you got
What do you call it?
I don't what it's called. But Nine Clank. It's called Nine Clank. And then you hold your leg and then you jump around. So that's actually one of the things we do. But also we do it in the mud. Imagine in the mud, it's slippery, right? And you fall.
More fun.
And the mud, like I know it might be a boring or weird question. The mud, what is the mud like? The mud that we know is like when you, I don't know, like you barely come up. I feel like most people watching right now haven't. I don't know if they can say the last time they saw mud.
True.
And the mud at Mepantigan is a really deep pool of mud.
Yes, it's rice field mud. It used to be a rice field where we grow rice. And the Balinese, our staple food is rice, like many Asian countries. And rice grows on mud. And my ancestors used to be farmers for sure, to grow rice in order to feed their families and to make an economic income. And mud is that source. So it's kind of like bringing back to where you started, which is rice farming, right?
It looks like more clean. It's weird. It looks more like.
It looks more clean. The thing is, I think rice field mud is first of all, a lot of people actually go to mud spas and pay so much money for it.
What are the benefits?
I mean, nice skin, nice soft skin. I think it kills some pores or stuff like this. I don't exactly know what the scientific thing is in mud, but I know that a lot of people pay a lot of money to go in mud. If you watch Suits.
Yeah.
You know,
like Lewis, right?
Lewis, he goes to mud bath, right? So, but we do it in a fun way, and the fun thing is every time our guests go inside to Mepantigan and they play in the mud, we will shower in the river right after, like rinse off the mud,
right.
And they feel the skin so smooth and stuff. It's quite something.
Also reminds me, you know the Dead Sea. One that you go and you float all the time because of the high salt quantity. Over there also they have like the Dead Sea mud and like the minerals from that mud. It's insane because you put it on your body and stuff, and apparently it has the same properties as normal mud, but there's something very special about it. So that's also
maybe I go there and make a Mepantigan. Let's see.
It's a cool culture. I feel like is it like the being in the mud, is that like a cultural part, or is that something that you took from that you kind of created?
I think it's what we kind of created. Well,
so it's not like something like an ancient thing where you have like a big mud bar.
No, it's not an ancient thing. It's a creation. But it's a creation in order to make people conscious, make people aware of the culture, of Balinese culture, Balinese arts, through a fun activity, and in the mud, right? Which makes it unique. And going back to ancestry, I think my grandfather and my dad used to play in mud as a kid while they're planting rice, right? Like this. Like, it's actually very childhood memories that they start to catch, right? But we often forget that these things are actually very good for us. Like, it's healthy and stuff like this. And
some people just run away from it. They're like, "Oh, this is dirty."
Yeah.
They're very protected in their environment, and I mean, me included, I was like that until I went to this martial art camp in South India to do Kalari, where it originates from.
Yeah.
And it was like we stayed in like this farmland, which is like they had their own farm, they had their own stable, and there was this entire. It's like one of the oldest Kalari schools in South India, and apparently they had this whole setup made of the mud and stuff, and it was insane because when you're in that environment where there's like insects everywhere, in the bathroom there are like spiders and there are lizards and there are like insects you've never seen before. Then you just connect to nature. I used to be scared of it, but I'm not anymore because they don't do anything, man.
No, they don't.
They're just part of nature. If you trouble them, if you kill them, they'll attack you. But they don't do anything. It's very normal.
Yeah.
And also like being in mud and stuff, it connects you to nature. It grounds you also, which is also very, very fascinating. But yeah.
And these type of messages we often share when people are maybe a little hesitant to go into the mud and stuff like this. Yeah.
What is the philosophy of your martial art?
In Mepantigan, we have a mindset of warrior wisdom. We call it. What does warrior wisdom mean? Is of course in life we need to be brave, right? But we also need to remember ancient philosophies. Especially in Bali, we have many different philosophies that teach us about life. One of the philosophies that we follow in Mepantigan is called Tri Ita Karana. Three means three. Itakarana means basically basic principles to live as a human being. So the three principles are: one, harmony between human and nature; two, human to human; three, harmony between human and spirituality. So those are the three main philosophies, and that's what we follow at Mepantigan.
That's very, very interesting.
Sorry. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, like even comparing it to the martial art that I learned, the martial art that I learned, Kalari, is actually very connected to yoga. And like in yoga and stuff, I don't know if you know about this, that we have like chakras and stuff, right? So even in Kalari, what you're doing is you're training every chakra, you're opening every chakra, and that's why Kalari, like yoga is like very chilled out, you're stretching, you're doing this stuff. And Kalari is like super fast paced. It's like the sequences are very fast. It's like you're doing cardio and strength training, but both are hard. It's like super, super difficult. You're going into like these different poses, you're learning different attacks. It's like an all-round 360 martial art, and that's what I'm doing. I think the concept of many martial arts, like the base of many martial arts, is very similar. Connecting with nature, defending yourself, and also it's all about personal growth.
So is there any way that people here in Europe can connect with this project or with Mepantigan or something? If anybody is listening is interested right now.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, Mepantigan is located in Bali, so if you guys are planning to go to Bali,
we'll be there.
Contact me, and we have our activities. We also have a homestay where guests can stay
in nature also.
In nature, yes. And so welcome anytime.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Will do, bro.
Cool. So now I feel like now's the best time to get into the rapid fire round.
Okay.
The rapid fire round where we ask you 20 questions and you have to answer them in as little time as possible.
Okay.
You know the drill.
So I feel like let's just hop straight into it.
All right. What was the record again?
The record, now you gotta be 157.
157
at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah, the issue is like we don't know when everything's gonna come out, so like if you
do your best.
Do
your best.
Alright, let's do it.
Compete against yourself. Nobody else.
Okay.
Compete against yourself.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Alright, so you're gonna time it. Start with the first one?
Yeah.
Alright. 3, 2, 1. Favorite martial art?
Mepantigan.
Least favorite subject?
Math.
Most favorite subject?
Sports.
Biggest achievement?
Going to IE.
Best martial artist in your opinion?
Ooh, Jackie Chan.
Offense or defense?
Offense.
Favorite travel destination?
Ooh, Bali.
Best piece of advice?
Always be aware and conscious.
Your favorite book?
Shoot up.
Favorite travel destination?
Bali.
Do exams matter? Yes or no?
No.
Best investment.
Myself.
Money or happiness?
Happiness.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flying. Sure.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Most inspirational influence on you?
Most, my family, father.
Favorite dish?
Rendang, Bali.
Hard work or smart work?
Smart.
Dream job?
Dream job, entrepreneurship.
Do you feel fulfilled?
Oh, yes.
Let's
go!
Good job. Good job. Good job.
1 minute and 46
Milliseconds.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
If you release your episodes, you're gonna be up there. You're gonna be up there somewhere.
Yes, for sure.
Your name is gonna be
And again now, we've filmed a couple episodes, we've done a couple rapid fire rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we get to this is starting to become a ritual, this part now.
Very good.
But every time we get to the superpower, people always say flight. We haven't received a different answer yet, other than flight. Why do you think flight?
Well, my least favorite subject was math, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a flying superpower, I can fly, jump out this window and fly out.
from math class.
From math class. Why not? I mean, so just flight just to be able to go everywhere.
Everywhere you want. I mean, see. I mean, that's why we're here. We're up in the building. You can see a lot of stuff.
It makes sense, you know. No limitations. No limitations. Go wherever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah. This is something that we're gonna keep asking until there's a person that doesn't say flight. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah, someone has to break the pattern.
Yeah,
somebody has to break it.
So if you're watching this podcast right now, and you're gonna be on to break the pattern.
But what else? What do you guys think?
Invisibility. I don't know. Super strength.
Invisibility would have been something.
Okay.
Yeah, ever since Harry Potter, I was like, yeah, that'd be sick. But I don't know. I think I wouldn't be able to answer the question that quickly either. Like, I would be thinking, like, they're always the quintessential superpowers. Always, obviously, Superman can fly. It's
the first thing you think about when you think about a superhero. Flight. It's the first thing, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's the main thing, right? Yeah.
Another superpower that Batman has: rich.
Rich.
What superpower you want to have? Rich. Wealth.
Yeah.
Super.
Cool, man.
Alright, so the last question we ask every guest is, how do you get rich?
How do you get rich?
Yeah. How do you get rich? Any interpretation, any answer, whatever you want to take it as.
Hard question. How do you get rich? For me, I think to be rich or to become rich, you need to be aware, you need to be conscious, and you need to be grateful. Because once you're aware and you're conscious of your surrounding, you see opportunities. And first thing to become rich, I believe, is to seize opportunity. And then also be grateful, because if you're over rich, let's say, or you achieve so much, but you don't have this gratitude in you, or this philosophy of gratefulness, you can be out of hand and be extreme very easily.
Modesty.
So, modesty needs to be there, and I think modesty comes from gratefulness. So I think that's to become rich properly. I mean, I'm only 20, so I'm not rich yet, but I hope I can achieve
You're
it.
20 and you're in the 4th year.
21.
Oh, you're 21.
21, yeah.
Wow.
21.
Cool.
It's only 1 year difference. Awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Good
Thank
luck
you.
for your 25-100
Thank you so much. Yes.
That's cool, man.
and Bali Mud Games.
Welcome. Welcome, guys. Everyone.
Peace.